Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome everybody to a very, very, very special episode of Cricket Mehfil today on Grassroots Cricket. I am over the moon. We're all over the moon here to be joined by the one, the only Sir Mickey Arthur, current coach of Sri Lanka, former coach of Pakistan, a man that everybody in Pakistan loves and respects. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time out for us. I know you've been very, very busy with a lot going on, but you've taken time out for Pakistan again. How are you feeling?
Yeah, look, all good. We're in isolation again, which seems to be the buzzword in a bubble. Preparing for we've just come back from Bangladesh, preparing to go to England. So there's a lot happening, but it's always a pleasure to speak to the people and the cricket-loving public of Pakistan. I've got a great affinity with the people over there.
Absolutely, and we've got a great affinity for you with you. So many amazing memories, so many wonderful things to talk about. But I think one thing we never talk about, at least in Pakistan, is we never talk about how Mickey Arthur got started. You had a long first-class career. You played for South Africa A. You scored over 6,000 first-class runs at that time growing up. And I know you grew up in an era where things changed a lot in South Africa by the time you had started playing cricket. So what was, if you were to tell us briefly, what was that journey like? Was it always going to be cricket? Because South Africans love their sport. You guys love your rugby. You guys love your soccer. You know, your outdoorsy nation, sporting nation. Was it always cricket for you? And growing up, did you think, I'm going to play cricket, I'm going to be coaching around the world? I'm pretty sure you weren't thinking about Pakistan and Sri Lanka at that time, growing up in South Africa, somewhere in the future.
No, I wasn't, and you're right. It was a very sheltered time. I mean, I grew up in that abysmal society around apartheid, you know, and for me growing up through the ranks, it was all sort of butterflies and roses, you know. We went to great schools, we played some great cricket, we played sport. We were just such a sport loving nation, as you say, and I was just brought up doing that, and the only thing that worried me growing up, though, was why we weren't playing international sports. So because for me that was such an issue, I started delving into it all, and then obviously came through the system of that. When I finished school, it was still the apartheid era, so I had to go and do my 2 years national service, and I guess it was at that time that you know we sort of, as society in South Africa, said we've had enough of this, you know, and that started meaningful change. When I started my first class career, it was still a whites only league that we played in, you know, the Currie Cup at that point. I played for Griquas, and I played for Free State. Was always I played with the late Hansie Cronje, Alan Donald. Funny enough, we had Omar Henry in our team. I don't know if you remember, the left arm spinner, and that. And talking to Omar, became really, really good mates with him, kind of gave me a perspective of what was happening in society in South Africa. And then obviously came Unity, a unified cricket South Africa, which was very, very exciting. And then international cricket. And then that was when I think I seriously realized that I probably just wasn't good enough to play international cricket. I was always on the fringes, the opening batsman, always in the South African A side. But I think that was when I finally envisaged myself making a career of it and going into the coaching side. And then I was very lucky. I had some breaks that went for me early in my career. And I coached South Africa at 36, which is very young. And those breaks allowed me to explore the cricketing world and to explore the subcontinent and everything. So I've been very, very grateful, and I'm very humbled by the career I've had.
Like you mentioned, Coach, you started coaching South Africa at a young age. At that time, a lot of people felt with international coaches or coaches in cricket in general. I remember Shane Warne saying a coach is something you need to get from the bus to the ground and back. But suddenly there was an entire younger generation of cricketers that wanted the experience of coaching, because coaching is so much more than just you telling people what to do. You're teaching them about so much more than the game. So, and here you are, young guy, coaching a side that went on under you to become world number one in Test cricket, world number one in ODI cricket. You know, one of your earliest games was chasing down 434, like it was the most normal thing in the world. So what was it that you guys were doing at that time that was making South Africa this team that just seemed to take on every challenge and ace it, no problem?
I tell you what, I'm going to be pretty truthful. Graham and myself were so young as captain and coach, we actually didn't know what was going on, and we kind of just found a way to make it work. You've got to say though that I was very, very blessed to have incredible talent in that team. When you talk of the Graham Smiths, the Jacques Callises, the Mark Bouchers, the Sean Pollocks when I started, the Mackay and Teenies, and then later we got the Ashwell Princes, the JP Duminis, the AB de Villierses, the Dale Steins, the Mornay Morkels. It was a great time to be involved with South African cricket. The team was very, very well led by Graham. He was a phenomenal leader. Him and I sort of had a vision. We wanted to change it up a bit, and we got some of these young boys in, the de Villierses, Morkel, Steins, etc., guys that were going to go on and have fantastic careers. We just had that talent though available to us, and we kind of just, the script just almost wrote itself. We eventually got to a point. I remember my first tour to Australia. Graham was this young captain, and we arrived in Australia. It was my second tour. It was late 2005, early 2006, and we rocked in there. And Graham's gone to the first press conference and gone, we're gonna win the series 3-0, and we're gonna beat Australia on their own patch. And we were just hopeless. I think that series ended with us licking our wounds and Shane Warne saying that's the worst South African team he's ever seen. And it was actually on that plane home that Graham and I looked at what we needed to do, and then that sort of hatched our plans going forward. And we just got some great talent, and we were very, very lucky and to have 5 unbelievable years together, and achieve some great success.
Great success indeed, Coach. 9 unbeaten series. You beat India, Pakistan, the West Indies, New Zealand, and Bangladesh in South Africa. And then you went and beat England, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and you were the only side at that time to draw with India in India, which most people weren't doing. And then so 9 unbeaten series, and then you go, after telling the Aussies a couple of years after telling them you're going to beat them 3-0, and then you go and beat them in Australia. You have the most amazing series. If I'm not wrong, that's when you discovered Faf du Plessis. He just comes in, makes it look like the most normal thing. You guys continue to go from strength to strength. So was it just a case of continuing your vision, continuing to believe in what you, not fixing something that's not broke? Or did you try different things because you guys started bringing in spinners? We started seeing Imran Tahir being more involved. We started seeing you try different things. It wasn't just, as we're always told, South Africa, pace and bounce. You had AB de Villiers, you had Ashwell Prince, like you mentioned, who played a very different brand of cricket. So you were trying to also change things a little bit, and you maintain your exceptional fielding standards just across the whole thing. So did you make little tweaks, or were you guys thinking, no, this is the formula that works, we're just going to stick to it?
No, I think the key for us was that we were constantly evolving. Now, Faf came a little bit after I finished.
Okay.
But we were constantly trying to evolve and constantly trying to work on our strategies and on our game plans going forward, because we knew that if we stagnated, we would get caught up by our opponents. And 2008 was a very significant year for us because we beat England in a test series for the first time since unity. And we beat Australia in Australia for the first time ever. And that was in the same year we drew with India, all in test series. So that was pretty significant for us because India was away from home. And all those series, in fact, were away from home. So that was a significant year. And I think where it started for me, that was where we sort of built to a crescendo of a team. And winning in Australia in 2008, going into 2009, was the opportunity for us then to really kick on as a team. And I think that's the only regret I had with South Africa was we had a Champions Trophy sort of November 2009 where we in South Africa and we didn't make the semi-finals. And then we had a series with with England, 2009, early 2010, a test series against England, which is a big series for South Africa. And we ended up drawing that series. And I mean, that was a phenomenal series, as it were, because it's the first time that we ever had a team in a series twice 9 down, but we never won the test match. So we in theory, if things had gone well, we would have won it 3-1. We were 1 wicket in 2 games away from winning that series 3-1. But we actually ended up drawing the series 1-1. And I kind of feel cricket tells you when it's time. And I still had another year left on my contract. But I felt that at that time, I felt the team had stagnated. I'd given it everything. I think Graham felt that, and the administrators felt that. And I think that was time to say, look, I think it needs a new voice going forward. And that was when Corey van Zyl came in for a little bit, but then we had Gary Kirsten coming back to try and take them again to another level. And that was the right time. So I'm comfortable that was the right time. I moved on, and South Africa and the South African team did escalate a little bit. So you always know when a time. I had 5 great years with South Africa, but I knew that was the right time.
So after international coaching, you're one of the few people that took on a different challenge. You moved to Australia. You took over Western Australia, a bit of a powerhouse, but they were going through a tough time. And then you became Australia's first ever foreign-born coach. That's a huge challenge because people are always judging you against the past. They're judging you. And that was an Australian team that was going through a lot of upheaval at the time. They'd been the world's best and suddenly they weren't anymore. So did you feel that because of your immense success with South Africa, did you feel that your ideas and your vision were welcomed? Or was there still some place, maybe, I'm not saying maybe so much, but somehow they felt, no, this is not the Australian way. And we'd like to do things, because we've seen England, we've seen India, Pakistan, the West Indies all embrace foreign coaching. Not so much Australia.
No, Australia certainly didn't embrace foreign coaching. I tell you, Western Australia did. And we were on the fringes of bringing out through the likes of Mitchell Marsh, Ashton Agar, Joel Paris, Jason Berendorf, Nathan Coulter-Nile. We had just started with a really nice young blend of players, and I think it all happened too quick for me in Australia, being a non-Australian. I didn't understand the culture yet. I didn't understand the dynamics of Australian cricket. But when a coaching job throws itself at you, irrespective if the timing's wrong, you've got to say yes. And I jumped into it. I jumped into it a little bit blind, I think, and I would do things differently if I had that opportunity again, for sure. It taught me a lot about my coaching. It taught me a lot about myself as a coach. But it was, there was some really good moments, but it obviously all ended in tears eventually, and it's disappointing.
But you decided, Coach, then that you've not had enough of challenges coaching Australia. So you decided at a time when the whole world thought that the craziest thing anybody not from Pakistan can do is go and coach this mercurial, absolutely crazy bunch of players. And at a time, people had this perception of Pakistan not being safe. We'd seen South African teams not wanting to tour. Here's Mickey Arthur taking on the challenge of a lifetime, coming to coach Pakistan. And I mean, what was the thinking behind that? I'm sure your family were a bit worried. I'm sure your friends called you and said, are you sure, Mick, you want to take this on? And then you probably looked at Pakistan with its continuous upheavals. I mean, one day things are going great, and the next day everybody's got the knives out. What made you want to take that challenge on?
Well, I tell you what did was that I coached Karachi Kings in PSL 1. So I came over and was pretty blind to Pakistan cricket. I knew the players, obviously, and we had played against Pakistan. I toured Pakistan with South Africa in 2007. It always looked a challenge. It was a vibrant, chaotic environment. And I coaching the PSL, I loved it. And I formed a bond with some of the players, and it was great. And it just so happened that just a little bit after that, Waka Yunus lost his job with the team, and they looked for a coach. And you know, I got a phone call from Faisal Mirza at the time. Would I be interested? I said, yeah. He said, okay, we'll send your CV in. And then like a lot happens in the subcontinent, you send your CV and then it all goes quiet for a period of time. And then I suddenly got a phone call from Faisal and said, yeah, you got the job. Here's the CEO's on the line to you. And we discussed terms. And he said, well, can you come tomorrow? I've gone, well, shit, I haven't heard from you for sort of 2 months. And then it sort of kicked in. But I can honestly say that through my coaching career that I had great times with South Africa. I loved that. That was always be very special because the country of my birth, I've coached for 5 years. But going to Pakistan and coaching there and having a look at the chaos but the fountains of talent and the color and the noise and the vibrancy, it was the best 3 years, 4 months of my coaching career. I loved every minute from the moment of landing in Lahore, being ushered through, not really knowing what to expect, to going into my room at the National Cricket Academy, to getting a squad together, coaching, going to England for the first time. It just touched my senses. It just aroused my senses in so many different ways, and it was amazing. It was emotional. It was crazy. It was beautiful. It was so many words come to mind. I just loved it.
And you took the team to #1 in Tests and T20, and then the thing everybody will always associate with you, the Champions Trophy. You got a country in mourning. You lose to India. And then you probably, and I put this down to probably you telling the guys, right, one time, okay, second time, I'm not losing to this lot. And then you go and destroy them in the final. And then suddenly you're a national hero. We're probably talking about naming a city after you, you know, giving you your own statue. What was that like? Because for us as fans, it was crazy. Lose to India, and within the space of 2 weeks, we're the champions, beating India in the final. What were you guys going through?
Well, that was a crazy period of time, because I don't know if you remember, just before that, we toured the West Indies for tests. So we were in the West Indies, and we became the first Pakistan team to win a test series in the West Indies.
And how?
Based on that disastrous shot from Shannon Gabriel to Yasir Shah right at the end of the day. But it was kind of fatalistic about that. It was Misbah and Yunus's last game. We had never won in the West Indies before. It just all sort of smoothly came together, and that was euphoria personified. And then we went straight from that. We got on a plane the next day with our white ball team, and we went straight across to England to start preparing for the Champions Trophy. And we were ranked 8th in the world at that time. Pakistan's white ball cricket, I'd had one series or two series, I think, with them, and it was shambolic. We needed to make a lot of changes. It was antiquated. It was we were like playing 1990s cricket in the year 2017. You know, it was just, we needed to make change, and we needed to change a brand. We needed to change some personnel, and we needed to get a proper vision in place with our one-day cricket. And we went there, and we got there, and suddenly there was this quite a nice vibe. And then we had the Umar Akmal failing his fitness test escapade, and we needed to make a line in the sand there, because we were going in this different direction. No longer were we going to be mediocre in our standards. We wanted excellence. We demanded excellence from the players, and there was a bit of a ruckus over that. And then he left, and then we got the first game, and it's India at Edgbaston, and it's a massive crowd in, and we get absolutely hammered. So you're going from the hero and the euphoria of winning in the West Indies to being absolutely castigated for losing to India. It was almost so. I remember being summoned, and what a lovely man Mr. Shreya Khan is. He was the chairman at the time, and I remember the day after that, he summoned me to his hotel. So we were in different hotels in Birmingham, and we were staying in Birmingham because South Africa was our next game. And I was summoned to Mr. Shreya Khan's hotel. And I remember it was about lunchtime, and we went in, and I remember he got a pumpkin soup to eat. I think his tie got caught in the soup as he was animatedly discussing what had gone wrong and whatever. But he gave me unequivocal support. Him and Mr. Najim Sethi gave me unequivocal support at that time. And he said, look, just stay on the course, stay what you're doing. I like what you're doing. And just because you can imagine, I mean, if I was, effigies were being burnt, I think, and, you think your head's on the guillotine and you're going to go at any time. And he just gave me that support and it was an amazing lunch. And I walked out of there energized again. So this going, stuff that. We are now going to go and we're not going to lose again on this tour. And I remember us getting the boys together. We had a very animated team meeting. For the first time, we had some senior players actually starting to voice their opinion on what had happened and where we needed to go and how we needed to play. And, we sort of facilitated that. Safraz was, Shoaib Malik, I remember, was quite animated. Mohammed Hafiz, and everybody had their sort of say, and which is very unlike the Pakistan dressing room at that time, because it was very meek and I say meek and mild, but it was very respectful. Where players didn't challenge each other. And I remember that team meeting being not confrontational in any way, but there was some home truth spoken, and the home truths were coming from players, and it was so good to hear. And I just got a great feeling walking out of that. And then we played South Africa the next day, and we bowled beautifully. Hassan Ali, I remember the ball that he bowled Wayne Parnell with after getting JP Duminy out, and we fielded unbelievably well. And then Fakhar Zaman came out, and he just, because we decided then he didn't play game one. We went conservatively into that game one with conservative players, with I wanted to mention names, but it was the old school, Ahmed Shahzad, and there was, Wahab Riaz went for a lot. And we thought, no way. If we're going to go down, we're going to get some young boys in, we're going to get some young blood in, and we're going to play this fearless brand of cricket. And I remember Fakhar Zaman going out and first over carving Morne Morkel through the offside with our batting, and he was away, and off he went. And then it started, we lost a couple of wickets, and it started getting tight, but we knew we had the radar on in the dressing room, and we knew the rain was coming. We knew it was very imminent, and then we had the Duckworth Lewis out, and we were all looking, no, we can't lose another wicket or whatever, and we fell just below the rate, and Mohammed Hafiz then hit a 6 next ball to get us back above the rate, and then it came down, the rain came bucketing down, and I just say it was just meant to be, because we ended up winning that game on the Duckworth Lewis, and then it was the showdown with Sri Lanka, and Safraz getting us home incredibly well in that game. And once we got to that semi-final, we played two of the most perfect games of cricket you could ever wish to see. The semi-final against England, and then India in the final. And it was almost just, I still think it was meant to be that we won that. It was just euphoric. That has been the best 3 weeks of my coaching career ever. And I can look back on Test series wins in Australia, Test series wins in England, the euphoria around some one-day wins against Australia, the 4-3-8 game. But that 3.5 weeks where we just seemed to start believing in a brand and almost become unstoppable was so powerful. And then to eventually win it was euphoric.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the feelings in the game, Virat Kohli being dropped, going next ball, Shadab knowing that he had Yuvraj, LBW, convinced. We were like, what are you doing? You're going to waste the review. He's like, nope, that's gone. And then there was all of us, I think a generation of us who grew up through the 99 World Cup final. In a way, for us winning in England, and it was even better beating India in a final. I wouldn't say it made up for that, but it kind of gave us, after all these years, I mean, I like to say that my beard went white. I was 18 at the time in the 99 final. My beard went white through that game because you guys had a great team, the balance of that side. You had, Azhar Ali and Fakhar Zaman at the top. You had Sarfaraz at the top of his game. Mohammed Hafiz, you mentioned, I think his cameo in that final was one of the best knocks he's ever played. Then you had Hassan Ali, you had, Shadab, these young guys coming through. Everything about it, like you said, it just made sense that this Pakistan team, and I think that was you putting your stamp on it, that it's a lot of passion, brimful of fire, but then there's a little bit of South African. I know it's weird to say South African calm, but that's what you are. Compared to Pakistan, South Africans are very calm. So you brought a little bit of calmness and a little bit of peace to that situation. And you guys went and did that. And I think not just for you, coach, but for those players, and certainly for an entire generation of Pakistanis, because it's against India, it meant so much more. I think we could have beaten Zimbabwe and we would have loved it, but to beat India after everything they were saying in the media, it was just the best day ever.
It was unbelievable. You can't feel. I mean, I remember walking out of the Oval, and the hordes of Pakistan supporters down the road around the bus. We couldn't get. It was just getting into the hotel, and the Pakistan supporters outside the hotel. It was just. I mean, it brings a tear to my eye. It was just an unbelievable day, and one that I will never, ever, ever forget. Never, ever.
Absolutely. I think it's the same for us. Coach, we had some small questions to ask you just to kind of get an idea of the things that you went through with Pakistan in your time. Was there an impact of the language barrier when you were working with the Pakistan team? Because, of course, you'd coach South Africa, your native country, and Australia, where, of course, English. Was it a bit different? Because we know some of the players speak English. For a lot of the younger guys, it's something they get used to as they spend more time in the international circuit. But coming from domestic cricket, many of them don't have that you can say that that exposure to English. Was it tough for you, the language barrier, or was it something you found easy to work around?
I think there were a couple of young boys that came into that setup. The streetwise guys understood it. They and it was sort of like me at the end, where I got a sort of feeling for Udu. I could understand and I could get the conversation, but I couldn't get the particulars of the conversation. I think conversely that worked the other way. For some of the younger guys, they could get a bit of it, but if I ever felt that it was a problem, I got Azam Mahmood in to help so that my message was crystal clear with the guys. The other thing I will say is that cricket is very much a universal language. So even though you don't understand the intricacies of discussing your food recipe or whatever, you still understand swing and solid base and committing to your shots, your defensive games, your wrist position. So people generally do understand that. And I certainly don't think it was as much of an issue as possibly now with Sri Lanka, where there's a lot of guys here in Sri Lanka where you've got to work through a guy to make sure that your message is getting clear. In Pakistan, it wasn't that much, to be honest.
Who's the one player you never coached that you personally thought, I would have loved to have had the privilege to coach this player? Can be anyone.
I would have loved somebody I've never coached. Sure, but I think I've shared the dressing room with the greatest cricketer in Jacques Kallis. Why somebody I would have loved to have worked with? I think because I'm a purist and I love cricket. I love cricket conversations. I think Kane Williamson has to be up there. Yeah, just does everything so well and just so meticulously. He just looks like a craftsman of note. And I suppose Kane Williamson is comes to mind. And that's probably because I'm seeing him on my TV now
in the test match. He's a fantastic player, isn't he? Just absolutely brilliant. Coach, you've backed Bobby, Prince Bobby, as we call him now, from the beginning. How do you view his progress in the last couple of years, especially in test matches? And do you personally think it's good for him to have the burdency of being the all-format captain? Because he's doing it well. He's doing captaincy really well. He's taken to it well. It's not always that we win, white ball series in South Africa. I know South Africa were not their best, but he's taken to captaincy well. And of course, he's our most important player. How do you view his progress? And do you personally think it's okay for him right now to have that responsibility of being the all-format captain?
Yeah, certainly. And I like to say King Bobby. He's he and look, I've just loved every minute of watching his development as a player. He works incredibly hard. He's very disciplined. He's so professional. He spends time on every facet of his game to make him better. The batting, the fielding, the fitness, the regime, the eating healthy, the diets. He deserves every little bit of success. You know, he's just a wonderful, wonderful player, and I just love watching him bat. You know, I just whenever I follow Pakistan religiously still, and when I see Baba come out to bat, Babsy, my boy, I say I sit and watch because I just love watching him. I just love watching him play. I've been really happy how he's taken to the captaincy. And there was always that question mark for me how he would take to that leadership role, because Bubs always was very consumed in his own game, you know, and all best players are. They consumed in their own game because they all striving for perfection all the time. And so I wondered how he would take to captaincy, but I've got to be honest, I've been incredibly impressed and very happy how he's done it, and I think he's doing a wonderful job.
Coach, you've coached in the BPL and the PSL, the Dhaka Dynamites, the Karachi Kings. What's something different, if in your opinion? What's a noticeable difference between the BPL and the PSL, especially fast bowling? I know a lot of people talk about how fast bowling, especially in the PSL, is of a very high standard, but you're seeing really good players go to the Bangladesh Premier League as well. What's different in the leagues, in the franchises? Something that you can tell us that maybe we won't know.
I tell you, every league has a bit. So I was with the Scorchers in the first with a big bash. I did Jamaica in the Caribbean Premier League. That had a sort of different flair to it. It was that was very interesting. Every place that I've coached has been slightly different, as you say. The one thing I saw with and I loved the Dhaka Dynamites. We had a nice side. There was a lack of fast bowling talent, but there was a lot of good spinners. That's what I found very marked in Bangladesh. And then one must say the PSL. I think the standard of the bowling in the PSL is without a doubt the highest standard of franchise cricket. So if you take the standard of every bowling attack in that for me is the highest. I think in RPL, I think the level of batsmanship is better all round. I think probably Big Bash is different because they're playing on such different surfaces. But for me, and that's why you get a lot of overseas batsmen coming to the PSL. You don't need to find overseas bowlers because Pakistan produce them in abundance. So I think that for me is the biggest standout factor of the PSL.
Grant Flower is someone you worked with in Pakistan. He's now with you in Sri Lanka. Very highly respected coach. He's someone, I grew up watching him play. He was part of Zimbabwe's first ever win against Pakistan. And then they came here and beat us. Grant and Andy were always at the forefront. So how has the experience been working with him? Because people like Yunus Khan and a lot of the other batsmen, they credited Grant with bringing a lot to their game.
Yeah, look, Grant's amazing, and that's why I really like working with him. I think he's a very good batting coach. I think his work ethic is outstanding. And when you travel so much with as a support staff, for me as head coach, I need a guy that can challenge me. You don't want yes men around you because then the system never. As head coach, you're always evaluating everybody else, but there's nobody evaluating you. Evaluating you. So Grant does that. Yeah, he challenges. He's not a yes man, and I quite enjoy that. But he's loyal and very trustworthy, and I think those are the most important things that you can have in your support staff.
One question that always came up, I remember when we were talking about the game against India when you lost, and suddenly people are like, oh, look, there's a clique, there's a roti gang, they're always going out and eating, and oh my God, they were out the night before a game. But a lot of people have also spoken about camaraderie and friendships. How important is something like that when a group of players is getting along and then performing? Should we only be looking at them if there's a bad game? I mean, isn't there camaraderie and friendship something that aids you when the team wins? Or it's only when teams lose that everybody in Pakistan is like, yeah, but those guys were sitting together and having a coffee. If you win the game, suddenly if they were sitting and having a coffee isn't as important. Do you think it contributes to the overall atmosphere and team environment?
No, not at all. Not at all. You know, you're on the road so much as a unit and as a team that you have to have people that you can confide in. You have to have people, you know, I get on well with most people, but there's some people I'm not going to go and have dinner with. There's other people I will go and have dinner with. You know, if I want to go and have a beer with a guy, I'll go and have a beer with him or a glass of wine because I enjoy his company outside of your work environment. So I don't think we can ever be prescriptive as to who goes out with who, because that's a microcosm of life, you know. But as long as when they get in that dressing room, they all in there solidly working towards that goal. And I never ever found that any different in the Pakistan side. I used to hate the rhetoric around the roti group and the senior players and whatever, because everybody, when they were in the team and working towards a goal, whether that be practice time or match day, were very focused on the ultimate prize. But I don't ever think that we can be stopping guys going out with people they're comfortable with to be going out for a meal with, you know. So I just find that very, very petty. Because you're on the road so many hours, so many days, you need to be comfortable with your company in the evening.
Coach, before we let you go, we have to say, obviously, as Pakistan fans, you gave us some of the most incredible moments that we've had. But also, to me personally, what always stood out was the fact that you chose to live here. You chose to promote this place. You embraced everything about Pakistan. We never saw you come out as, I don't want to take names, but, you know, sometimes people would say, well, Lahore doesn't have that or Karachi doesn't have this. We saw you smiling with the boys. You know, we'd see you around locally. And at a time when people would look at Pakistan and think, well, why is the coach taking up an assignment in Somalia, or why is he taking up an assignment in a war-torn place? But you did a lot in your own capacity to dispel that. And like you said, you have an affinity, and the people obviously have an affinity for you. So is there a message? The way it ended was maybe not the way you wanted it to, but you know you're still loved here. You know the people still talk about, we're still seeing so many of the players that you introduced and gave to us. So is there a message for the Pakistani people from you, knowing that they love you and they respect you? And also, you know, when you decided to do all of that, take all of that on, living in the National Cricket Academy, you know, not living in some bubble somewhere. I know bubbles has become a big word now, but you chose to embrace Pakistan for everything. So what was the reason behind that? And what's your message to the people of Pakistan?
Look, I think you've got to embrace that. If you don't, like, I wanted to embed myself in the culture of the country I was coaching, because I think you have to do that. First and foremost, I didn't want to be seen as just another foreign coach that came in, got a salary, and when his contract expired, moved on to another job. I wanted to live it, breathe it, understand it, and contribute to it. And that was to the team, it was to society, it was to everything. I made some wonderful friends in Lahore. I mean, I used to go and have dinners on a Friday night, on a Saturday night with people. I used to go out to some of the restaurants. It was wonderful. My message to the people of Pakistan was just, thank you so much for being so accommodating to me, and letting me in and letting me share in the culture, because I'm so richer for that experience, so richer, and I have unbelievably fond memories of Pakistan. And you know, I'll always look to come back in whether it be to visit people, whether it be a cricket tour, whatever the case might be. I embrace Pakistan, and so many times there's a hidden gem there. Pakistan's a hidden gem of the world because there's this kind of mystique around it. I found the people to be incredibly friendly, hospitable, very, very respectful. Look, I can't talk more highly of the public. You know, I've got so many good memories of walking out at cricket grounds and walking onto the ground and the public embracing me. You know, I'll never forget. It was my birthday. We were playing a one-day game just before the World Cup at Trent Bridge. It was May the 17th. It was my birthday, and We did the warm up, and I was walking back, and the dictator and Mr. Pakistan and all of them were in their corner, and they started singing "Happy Birthday" to me. And I went over, and they had a little birthday cake for me. And those are special moments that I'll never. I'm still in contact with the dictator. He messages me once a week, and I'm still in contact with a lot of the players. They'll always message, "How you going, coach?" Whatever, and we have a chat. And then the friends that I made in Pakistan, I'm still in contact with, and I think that sums it up. That it was everything that I wanted it to be, in a very, very special part of my life.
Well, Coach, like you said, you gave us 3 years and 4 months, and I know I say this on behalf of everyone. You always have a home here. Pakistan will always be a part of you, and I'm so happy we got to talk about all of these things, because it's very important for us. You came not just at a difficult time for the team, but at a difficult time for the country. And I'd like to think you took both of them on, and the way you embraced everything and moved forward. And of course, we wish you all the best with Sri Lanka. We know you're going to go great. I hope, you were just telling me you haven't seen your family since November of 2019, at least in Australia. So I hope you get to see them too. I hope it gets better. And I hope when you can come back, we can all just one day just let you know how much we appreciate everything you did for Pakistan as our coach. And of course, as for Babar, for Shadab, for Hassan Ali, for all of these young guys. And whatever happens, Coach, we'll always have the 2017 final. We'll always look back at it, and we'll always enjoy that day. And as Pakistanis, I don't think anything in the recent past gets that much better. Maybe we can have you come back and run for position of power. Who knows? We can work out something on that.
Who knows? I just know it was a wonderful, wonderful experience, and I'm just very thankful to everybody in Pakistan for making it so good.
Thank you so much, Coach. Thank you for taking the time out for us today. All the best to you for the Tour of England. Really good to speak to you. Take care of yourself and have a great time.
Thank you very much. You take care as well, Hassan. Thank you.